I want to draw some Mechagodzilla. Well, I'll try to draw some Mechagodzilla anyway. Okay, so this is going to be part of a series of different studies, as it were. But I want to sort of learn for myself, and then I'll probably be able to teach y'all how to draw a Mechagodzilla. Because at this point, Mechagodzilla is pretty much common knowledge now. So I am trying to draw in some shapes that I can kind of see in Mechagodzilla. So this is basically when I'm studying something and I'm trying to learn for myself, I'm just basically adding a whole bunch of different lines. Then I'm just kind of crafting those lines around to, see if they start making a shape that looks like what I'm seeing on my reference images. I can probably make things a little bit darker for you, just so you can actually see what's going on. Cool thing about drawing Mechagodzilla is that, well, one, this isn't going to be great. Well, it might be great, who knows, but, he's a robot, so it's more about design rather than it is about organics, I feel. Yeah, seems to be like an angle there. He's got a very interesting jaw design. And it seems like does his mouth open and close? I don't know. So we seem to have some panels up here, which I'm going to have to reference and study later. Don't even know what these spine things are meant to be about, unless that's just a aesthetic thing. It's got some neck panels. Seems that some of those neck panels aren't necessarily all sequential. I don't even know if that's a word, but I can go with it. And there's going to be a lot of studying of Godzilla, Mechagodzilla I should say, because there's a lot of movement and there's no real sort of static reference image right now. So thanks to HBO Max for releasing it on digital platforms already. So I don't know if they still have uploads of that yet, but if you were able to access certain videos on YouTube, you can at least use those images to study and reference. I guess there's kind of a pipe in there. I'm probably going to do a few versions or attempts in the future. It's kind of hard to draw. Let's just focus on the head, actually. So there seems to be a kind of seems to angularize around there. And there's some tech stuff around there. It's all these weird lines and shapes around his head. Or its head. Seems to be some lines back here. Kind of seems like there's two lines. Probably venting or something. I mean, to be fair, this is probably where the drive actually gets in. I don't know, I have to study the image of the movie a fair bit more. Seems that... Oh, actually, now that we've got this shape in, I probably drew that a bit too heavily. Erase that little bit of line. And the whole eye section's kind of still in there, so it's kind of cool. I mean, I probably can do a whole video just on drawing Mechagodzilla's eye, to be honest. And I'm using the scene where Mechagodzilla is kind of basically walking along that window you know, where you can see Mechagodzilla belting Godzilla's head around. So I'm using that visual image as a reference, because that was a pretty good, you know, shot of just Mechagodzilla's head. Strange mech lines, probably just for the sake of having mech lines. And in post-production doesn't sound like the right way of calling it, but basically, these lines are way too dark right now. So I'd probably erase them. Not totally erase them. I've recorded a little bit of a video of how you can lighten lines up, and that will probably make it look a little bit better. Because the heaviness of your lines and the darkness of your lines does impact the overall look of what you're trying to draw. So let's get some of these shapes going. Don't know what that shape is here. Can't tell if that's a neck or just a bit of machinery. Probably want to round out that edge a little bit, so it's not quite as sharp. That seems to be an eyebrow ridge sort of thing. Probably some bolts around there. Seems to be a bit of a bolt line there, some more lines there. There appears to be an indentation vent of sorts in here. Actually, bring that line up a little bit more. Apologies if I'm drawing this way too fast. I do tend to draw too fast when I'm trying to learn for myself. Is there a little bit of a line in here? Some of them are very light lines, some of them are very heavy lines. We seem to have a bit of a shape going on. Definitely there's a jaw curve there. I think it's actually a little bit too far back. So, technically, I'm meant to be not making mistakes so that you can watch what I'm doing and studying properly. But on the same token, when you're drawing your objects, you're definitely going to make mistakes. I mean, look at me. I'm making mistakes right now, and I'm leaving them in just so you can sort of know that you can make mistakes and you can erase them, because if you're trying to go for perfection in the first go, you're going to be very disappointed, and that's probably what's going to put you off drawing for a while. So make mistakes. I mean, Bob Ross says we don't make mistakes, we make happy accidents, but we're allowed to make mistakes, because mistakes is how we learn. Okay, so I think the jaw kind of goes around there to this line, so let's make the jaw come down like that. The more that I'm lining up certain lines, like this line now looks like it comes closer to the jaw. And it appears like, it actually interestingly seems like there is no actual pivot point in the jaw. It's kind of curious how the whole... Because that's one of the things I was trying to sort of look out for when I was watching the movie. I'm like, okay, where's his jaw pivot line? Wait, does he even have a jaw pivot line? Because, you know, the little circles that we usually put in our robots where arms move, they don't seem to be doing that these days in robots. Although, I do like the fact that his jawline does kind of look like Terminator. So I don't think it's as pronounced there. There's like a whole bunch of stuff there. And there's, I don't know what you'd call it, what this part is. It's definitely some mouth stuff. The stuff technically just being metal. That's the other thing though. With Mechagodzilla, what is he made of? He must be made of the same stuff that Captain America's shield must be made of. Because the buildings around them are made of steel and concrete, and they easily smash through that. But it appears that Mechagodzilla doesn't get damaged all that much from being punched. So, they must have made Mechagodzilla out of some metal that we... I don't know. Is this... Do they explain something about that in the movie? I don't know. But that's what I was wondering, like, why isn't Mechagodzilla being all bent and dented when he's made of probably the same metal that the buildings around him are made of? Okay, so... The eye is a very complex shape, and with the reference image that I'm using, it's going to be very hard to really draw that. So for now, we will just loose in some lines, and I will do a more dedicated video just on Mechagodzilla's eye later. But for now, let's just go with that. A little bit of shading inside that section. And it kind of looks like his eyes are barrel, so I guess that will do. This part's a whole convoluted bit. I can probably use a better reference at some point, but this is mostly sketching. Mostly just trying to work out this Mechagodzilla's... because I've never drawn this before, so I'm just basically studying. This is not necessarily a how to draw Mechagodzilla, and more, hey, watch me study how to draw Mechagodzilla. Because I need to learn too. Because all artists, no matter our skill level, are always studying and learning. Generally speaking, you just end up watching the end result, which is the whole edited process, but this seems to be the inside of his mouth. I feel like we need to add a little bit of red glow. I'm going to try a little bit of red just to see if that even shows up. Kind of does. I'm using a Bic ballpoint pen just to see if I can add a little bit of red tints and highlights to make it look any good. Okay, getting back to the head. It's interesting that it looks like Mechagodzilla has a gun nozzle for a nostril, from this angle anyway. Also kind of looks like it's a bit of a camera lens in a weird way. Definitely going to draw from the front on view as well, but it's just interesting. Some lines there, can even see that. Some bunches of lines here. Very rough. I'm gonna draw a better one. Okay, so it looks like there's a shape there. Well, as it comes down a little bit, maybe. That kind of looks like one of the teeth. Another shape there. That kind of makes it look like it's a ring of some kind. And maybe a shape there. It kind of makes it look like that this part here is meant to be a tooth. I will definitely draw this better at some point. But for now, this just gives you a sort of a loose idea of the visual concept of what makes Mechagodzilla look like Mechagodzilla just through studying. Bit of a mess, but, you know, you won't always have your drawing perfect the first time around, and that's what I keep saying. Maybe draw a shadowy tooth there. Can't fully tell from this angle what's going on here, but it kind of looks like there is some lumps or some metallic bumps, you know, just to make Mechagodzilla look even more like a mecha. And I do want to draw some more traditional styled Mechagodzilla, because I like robots. Robots are cool. I mean, my channel may mostly focus on dinosaurs, but I do love robots. So, if you love robots, let me know. Let me know in the comments below. Do you love robots? If you are actually watching this far in. Because also, if you're watching this far in, you are one of the 10% of people who watches my videos right to the end. I generally get about 10% audience retention on my videos, which doesn't bother me that much. I know 10% of you watched right to this point, so shout out to the 10%ers. Okay, so the bottom of his jaw is an interesting... We've got some things going on. Shapes is probably a better word to use than just say things. Seems to be a darker mechanical bit in there. There's a shape there. It's interesting if all this stuff will be moving around or not. There seems to be a circular, this dark shape here, and this circular dark shape here, and possibly up here. That's more of a shading area, but these areas will be definitely areas to remember for when you want to draw Mechagodzilla over and over and over, because basically when you're trying to draw anything, you basically just learn the key shapes. And, you know, the first time around you might notice, oh, okay, there's this round shape and this round shape and maybe a bit of a square shape. Try to focus on those key shapes and those key lines that make you go, you know what, this definitely looks more like the jaw. So maybe I'm going to keep drawing these particular lines in future attempts. So that's not bad. Definitely seems like there's a line here that goes up and a bit around. Okay, do like that. And we'll erase that part because there's not much going on there. Bit of shading in there. And then there's a line in, well, a dark shape in there as well. The interesting thing when trying to draw mechazoids, robots and large mechanical beasts, is that you're always trying to figure out, okay, is this a pipe or is this a line? Is this a an air intake, or is this just indentation? Or is this just a shape to look cool? Because, I mean, let's be real, like, all those shapes on the Death Star, those shapes were just there to look mechanical and cool. Okay, I also, after a while, I start using my key lines to emphasize other key lines to really bring them out a bit more. You can start using your overall composition to emphasize some areas that you really want to point out, and you add over on top of them. Like that. I've definitely drawn worse. Mechanical pencil, time to... Another tip is after a while, you might get some smudges on your fingers, and that will eventually rub out the rest of your image, so just get a tissue, put your hand on the tissue so you don't smudge all the rest of your lines. That's something I learned in art school. Funnily enough, when I went to art school, it was less about learning how to draw, and more like how to use an eraser so you don't smudge your lines, and how to use tissue paper to rest your hands so you don't smudge your lines. Basically, when I went to art school, I learned how to not smudge my lines. And I still smudge my lines a lot. And it kind of appears the shape of Mechagodzilla is nearly final form. And I mean, when you're finally drawing your full body Mechagodzillas. All of this is going to be super tiny. So it is going to be tough. Well, let's just say this is why it's important just to focus on your key lines and not focus on every single bolt and every single scratch. I mean, we'll leave that kind of stuff up to the box office artist. And if you've never heard of the box office artist, he's got like, what, 2 million subscribers now? Fantastic artist. Huge inspiration for me artistically because of just how detailed his artwork is. He is a monster when it comes to drawing detail. One of the ones that, you know, maybe one day I could do a collaboration with him. Maybe. I don't know, we'll see. I do plan to do collaborations on this channel as well, so... I mean, it's been 6 years this channel's been around for, so I will eventually learn how to get other sort of kind of content together, like, you know, collabs. I'm just not very good at making content at the best of times. It's alright, I can draw. That could be debatable as well. I know some of you in the comment section have sometimes left comments. I read them. I read them, especially when you sometimes leave me nasty comments. When you use swear words, and then you when I actually post something, you're like, oh my god, that's amazing. I see you. I see you. So, yeah. You know, if you're impatient when it comes to content, maybe have some patience. I guess this is a bit of a chin. I'll just draw a chin in there. I will say, some of the hate comments that I get, I'm more forgiving than others. Like, some of you, I can tell that you're just frustrated, you know? My drawings are complicated. So I know that some of you are just, you know, frustrated, and that's fair enough. You know, sometimes yeah. Anyway, enough of that rant. As Bob Ross would say, I ramble on too much. I talk too much. How's that looking? Is that looking like a Mechagodzilla head? Let's do a little bit of the neck. Okay, there's the back of the head. Let's add some shading to the back of the head. That is a back neck panel. What are these things? Are these like, I know it's meant to be his spine, but are they radar dishes? Are they antennas? Are they satellites? They glow. So what are these things? Are these just mechanical things that light up to look cool? Which is more than likely what they actually are when designing a creature that is a robot for your movies. Not everything is designed to be functional. Most of it is designed just to look cool, and then you're like, oh wait, I have to animate this. So how do I make this functional but also cool? That's the tough part of being a designer. There's a little bit of a dot in there. I think there's a little bit of a dark edge in there. So let's draw. There's a bit of a head shape in there, and a bit of a neck thing in there. This is the mechanical part, so they just fill it out to make sure that it's not like an empty vessel inside. Okay, so we'll put some indentation lines around there. So this shape actually goes a little bit higher up. And it seems to be like a rotatey, spinny thing in its mechanical plates. And interestingly enough, there's a lot of red glowing stuff in here. What is that red glowing stuff? Is that just lights? Is that energy? What is it? Sometimes when I'm like watching these movies, I'm like, what is this thing made of? What is this energy? What are you trying to do? How does this thing actually function in the real world? Is it atomic powered? Is it nuclear powered? How does Mechagodzilla actually move? Yes, we know that Mechagodzilla is basically brain powered when it started off, and then It was Ghidorah brain powered, apparently in the DNA of the bones or something. The bones retain some... Was Ghidorah's brain still inside that skull? Was there some sort of telepathic energy going on in the bones? That was the part that, like, you don't go to a Godzilla movie to try and understand what's going on, but sometimes you're just like, okay, that's makes no sense, but we'll go along with it. It's cool. I will definitely say it's cool. Doesn't make any sense, but it's cool. And let's add some shading to this bottom plate. After taking a few more frames in, it appears that this is actually meant to be Mechagodzilla's grill. So they spent a lot of time studying how Godzilla actually looks, so they can make their own mechanical version of it. Yeah. They really need to give their engineers a pay rise. And it's interesting how this stuff moves around. So when you're drawing your Mechagodzillas in the future, just realize that there are a lot of moving parts around here. Actually, there's a lot of moving parts everywhere. So, you know, it's going to be tough to try and make your Mechagodzillas look consistent. And this is when, like, from this point on, you just, like, you know, you add your lines and your shapes, and this is where it starts taking a lot of time. And then you got your moving parts, and then you got your shoulder parts, which I'm not going to deal with. I'm not going to worry about the shoulders and that for this video. There's a little bit of a neck stretching going on in there. We see all the red parts, but I mainly just wanted to focus on the head and general shape. And also I just wanted to see if I could actually draw it myself. And it appears I can. And I'm just going to refine some of these lines just to make it a little bit darker. I've already messed it up a little bit with ink, but that's okay. That's the problem with using pens sometimes. So I'm just using these lines to help emphasize some of the key points, just to make the final image look better. Maybe I can show you some brief ink techniques. I don't color the whole thing in, and I go very light on my pressure when it comes to using ballpoint pens. But it's good that we got our general shape now, so we can study these key shapes and move on to our next drawings in the future and see what else we can learn from studying. I mean, I used to do this all the time when I was a kid. I'd, you know, pause a frame of Jurassic Park and then I'd draw it. And then I'd pause the VHS again and I'd draw it. That is basically how I learned to draw. I just studied. And I'm planning on doing a video on how to study references as well, so if you'd like to see that, subscribe, let me know. My reference images, or my reference videos I should say, don't tend to get as many views, but I like having reference images for people. So let's just make some of the inside of his eyes a bit darker. Seems to be quite dark inside there. It definitely seems like those bits were little mechanical bumps. We've got some darkness from the inside of the teeth, so that's what that part was. And just highlight some of those little edges. Seems to be this shape here, there's a bit of a shape in here, and then there's like this, what I can only imagine, it looks like a camera lens. So it's these kind of key shapes you want to focus your eyes on, study and learn. And let's get this shape a little bit more solid out for the camera. I'm definitely excited to draw the eye. That's going to be interesting. Little dot there, these lines. And yeah, then it's like basically these shapes are just going to be mechanical neck shapes. And then the whole spine area is going to be its its all own puzzle in itself to solve. So that's, I guess in a way, that's what you call these Mechagodzillas, and just learning to draw these new creatures is a puzzle. I call it a visual optical puzzle that I just try and figure out. Before I make this video too much longer, let's just finish it there, and we'll call that one done. This is basically how I study an image to practice. You've watched my practice round. This is me explaining what goes through my head when I'm trying to learn how to draw something, except I'm trying to explain it while I'm doing it. But if you like this video, smash the thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to. The notification bell, I mean, it's up in the air if the notification bell even works these days. You know what helps my channel more than subscribing and liking? Actually watching more videos. So I've got another Godzilla vs King Kong video that I'm working on or have finished. Just watch more videos, enjoy yourself, have fun, learn something. Hopefully I've helped you learn how to do something to draw Mechagodzilla. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video. Cheerio for now.